Good afternoon. GPs in England have been told they can defer some of the services they provide to patients in order to allow doctors to deliver COVID booster jabs instead. Routine health checks for the over 75s and minor surgery could be affected. The move by NHS England comes as the government launched a new campaign urging all unvaccinated pregnant women to come forward and receive their jab. Megan Patterson reports.
More than 19 million COVID booster jabs, or third doses, have been given in the UK so far. As the rollout continues, demand on GP surgeries grows.
We are doing over 30,000 booster vaccinations since September. We get about 800 people coming as walk-ins, in addition to people come as appointments.
To meet the growth in uptake, new measures mean GPs across England will now be allowed to defer some of the services they provide to patients, like routine health checks for the over 75s, to allow doctors to focus on COVID booster jabs.
We are struggling to meet the increased demand of day-to-day work, our own backlog, and also the backlog from the hospitals. But at the same time, we do understand the importance of trying to vaccinate the population.
But there is concern from some patient groups. They warn the measure will disadvantage older people and lead to early warning signs of illness being missed.
This is a clear case of age discrimination. It's another example of when people reach a certain age, their health is not valued as much as the health of younger people. And it feeds into this narrative of, care homes not being protected.
The British Medical Association insists all patients will still receive the care they need. These measures aim to relieve pressure on GPs and increase the capacity of the vaccination programme, keeping people well and out of hospital beds. It comes as the government starts a new campaign encouraging expectant mums to take the jab. 98% of pregnant women seriously ill in hospital with COVID are unvaccinated.
1 in 5 women need to be delivered preterm. 1 in 5 babies need to go to the neonatal unit. So it's really clear that COVID-19 infection has got serious implications for the woman and the baby. But we now have ever more data to say that the vaccines are safe in pregnancy and very strongly recommended by everyone.
As all nations push to encourage jab and booster uptake, Nicola Sturgeon added her arm to the fully dosed total. Another case of the Omicron variant has been discovered in Scotland today, once again renewing the significance of vaccination programmes across the country. Megan Patterson, BBC News.
The government's latest coronavirus figures for the UK show there were 42,848 new infections recorded in the latest 24-hour period. However, in Scotland, the authorities are investigating the figures there as the case numbers are lower than expected. On average, 45,104 cases were reported per day in the last week. There were 127 deaths, that's of people who died within 28 days of a positive test, which means the average number of deaths over the past 7 days was 118. And more than 19.8 million people have received their booster jab. People in around 9,000 homes are facing a second weekend without power in parts of Scotland and northern England following Storm Arduin. Those affected are now bracing themselves for almost freezing temperatures forecast in some areas over the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the energy regulator, Ofgem, says the cap on the maximum amount of compensation customers can claim from suppliers has been lifted. Our correspondent Peter Harris is in Rothbury in Northumberland. Peter, how is the situation improving there?
Well, despite the weather here tonight, Martine, it is a slowly improving situation. So across Scotland and northern England, you're now down to about 5,000 houses in all that don't have power at the moment. Now, what we've seen here in Northumberland today is the army out in rural communities. This is in response to yesterday's announcement that Northumberland County Council had declared Storm Arwen a major incident. It's become quite sporadic now, so it's difficult. They're going up kind of rural farm tracks looking for that odd house that's still without power, even when the wider area around it is much improved. They're offering some supplies as well as just simple moral support. Now, we're not out of the woods yet here, certainly in northeast England. Northern Power Grid says it could be the middle of next week before they get everybody connected once again, simply because of the number of repairs still needed. And there is that warning for the power companies from Ofgem that they may take enforcement action if it's deemed they didn't restore power quickly enough.
Peter, thank you very much. Peter Harris in Northumberland. Birmingham City and Millwall fans have remembered Arthur Labinho Hughes, the boy who died at the hands of his stepmother and father. When a picture of the 6-year-old City fan appeared on screen in the 6th minute of the match this afternoon, supporters applauded. Players and crowds at other games across the country have paid similar tributes. Police in the US state of Michigan say they've arrested the parents of a teenager accused of killing 4 fellow students. Prosecutors say 15-year-old Ethan Crumbly carried out the shooting at his school on Tuesday with a semi-automatic pistol, which had been bought by his father. It's an unusual move for prosecutors to implicate the parents of a child's alleged crime. Aruna Iyengar reports.
15 years in prison and/or up to a $7,500.
James and Jennifer Crumbly in Oakland County Court as prosecutors announced manslaughter charges against them. Earlier, police found the couple after receiving a tip-off. They were hiding in a warehouse in Detroit hours after going on the run.
They were in a commercial building in a room. We were able to take them into custody without incident, but however, they were very distressed as they were walking out.
A reward of $10,000 had been offered for information leading to their arrests. Their lawyers say they fled for their own safety. Prosecutors say they ignored warning signs before their 15-year-old son, Ethan Crumbly, allegedly used his father's gun to shoot classmates in Oxford, Michigan, killing 4 and wounding 7. James Crumbly bought a gun and made it available to his son. At school, a teacher spotted Ethan searching online for ammunition and alerted his mother. Prosecutors say she later sent text messages to her son saying, "LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught." Then, on the morning of the killings, teachers contacted the parents over a note Ethan had drawn.
The note contained the following: a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun pointing at the words, quote, "The thoughts won't stop, help me," end quote. In another section of the note was a drawing of a bullet with the following words above that bullet, quote, "Blood everywhere."
But some question whether the parents really can be held responsible for the actions of their teenage son.
I think it's actually highly unusual. It's opening the door for a very large slippery slope. And so that's kind of where I'm having trouble saying that the parents committed manslaughter, meaning they were aware that this was going to happen.
At a candlelit vigil in Oxford last night, the community came together to honour the 4 teenagers. 4 minutes of bell ringing, 1 minute for each victim. Ethan Crumbly is being charged as an adult and is accused of terrorism charges and first-degree murder. Aruna Iyengar, BBC News.
One person has been killed and nearly 50 others have suffered burns after a volcano erupted on the Indonesian island of Java. Airlines were warned after a cloud of ash rose up to 50,000 feet from Mount Semeru. Villages nearby have been covered in debris. Smoke was so thick, light from the sun was blotted out. The world's oldest Test cricketer, Eileen Ash, has died at the age of 110. Eileen Ash, here ringing the bell at the 2017 Women's World Cup final at Lord's, made her England debut as a bowler in 1937 and played 7 tests either side of the Second World War before retiring in 1949. Football, and Liverpool have moved to the top of the Premier League after they beat Wolves with an injury time winner. It was made possible after league leaders Chelsea earlier lost 3-2 to London rivals West Ham. Here's our sports reporter, Adam Wilde.
It is a sign of how far West Ham have come that they welcomed the European champions with a note of optimism and a song from the start. There isn't much between these cross-capital rivals, geographically or otherwise. It took Chelsea's Thiago Silva to put just a little distance between them. Leading the way in the Premier League, but at the back here, Chelsea suddenly in all of a muddle. A needless penalty. Manuel Lanzini seeing it away with a confidence his side's season has rightly afforded. Much of the half-time chat, though, would be about what Mason Mount managed. The cross to him was sublime, his volley something else.
That is one of the goals of the season.
Still back came West Ham once more, Jared Bowen bringing the sides level for a second time. For teams so close, it'd take something special to separate them once and for all.
Do it all, and it's gone in!
It came from Arthur Masuaku, a winner for West Ham as bizarre as it was brilliant. And those West Ham songs of optimism are getting louder. Adam Wilde, BBC News.
There's more throughout the evening on the BBC News channel. We're back with the late news at 10 o'clock. Now on BBC One, it's time for the news where you are. Goodbye.